Will the new EPC rules kill the rental market in 2025? Let's talk about it. All right, fellow property investors, new landlords and renters in general. Buckle up because things are about to get interesting. So the UK government has once again shaken things up and they are proposing brand new EPC rules. Now, these rules could seriously shake up the rental market moving into 2025. And whether you're a landlord or a tenant, or even just someone that just loves a little bit of property drama, as we all do, this is something that you're going to want to know about. And it's something that I really want to know about as well. So, hi guys. So I have been literally investing for the past 3 years, and I've mainly been doing that by investing in mixed use properties and then converting them into residential. And I know just how much it's going to affect other landlords and renters as well moving forward this year. So today we're going to have a discussion about the good, the bad and everything in between, all the costs. So let's get into the conversation. So I've literally broken this video down into a couple of talking points, and that is what's changing with the EPCs, how it's going to impact landlords in general, the possible impacts on renters, and what we can do as smaller landlords. So I'm just going to be bringing in some of my personal tips and what I'll be doing moving forwards as well. So what's changing? So currently the EPC level for rental properties are an E, unless landlords have an exemption or otherwise. And the new proposals, they want to see EPC levels of a C and above for rental properties. Now, this isn't the first time that they've floated around ideas like this where they've discussed EPC levels going to a C. And when I was doing up my last property, they were saying that it was going to go up to a C. So that's why I did a lot of preemptive work on that property. My name's Sabrina. I'm literally documenting all of my property journey here on YouTube. So if you're liking this video, please like and think about subscribing. I have a whole playlist on everything that I did for my last property and where I've converted that from a mixed use to a residential. And the main thing when I was doing that as well was I had these EPC sort of changes in mind. So there were proposals in 2021 from Boris Johnson's government to have implemented this, that, you know, things were going to be, the EPC levels were going to be a C by 2025. That got delayed, scrapped and went away. In September 2023, Rishi Sunak scrapped all these proposals, or scrapped all the deadlines, so to speak. And he did this because he was probably concerned over cost for landlords. As landlords, we were expected to invest heavily into things like insulation, double glazing, low carbon heating solutions, all things like this. A lot of energy efficient solutions to improve those EPC levels to a level C. And there was also a minimum spending cap of about £10,000, which you had to prove, obviously through receipts, that you'd actually spent this much to improve the energy efficiency of your rental properties. And fast forward to 2024, and now the Labour government has picked all these proposals back up and have now implemented or wanting to put these proposals through. And they've basically announced plans to revive all of these minimum requirements for rental properties to have in terms of EPCs, which personally myself, it's a good thing for your tenants because this is all part of something that's going to make properties and housing a lot more energy efficient and a lot more cheaper to run for your tenants, and just better overall, better quality of housing overall for tenants in general. So to be honest with you, I'm all for, as it's going to overall reduce the energy bills for your tenants. So to me, that's a good thing. But I really do have my concerns over the way it's been done, some of the things that they are proposing to do this by, because it's in some cases, it might not be possible to do everything that they are requiring us to do or requiring landlords to do. But we'll get more into that later on in the video. So literally in a nutshell, all new tenancies, they are proposing that it's going to be at an EPC rating of C by 2028. And for existing, it's going to be 2030. Right, so the impact on landlords. So on average, and I'm talking smaller sort of landlords own almost like a handful, maybe 2 to 3 properties. And if these are older properties, it's going to take a lot more time, effort and money to actually convert and do all of these changes that the government wants. As some of these older properties will have a really low EPC rating. So we said earlier, the government on previous proposals or previous plans, they said they wanted to see a minimum of £10,000 £10,000 spend. Now they're actually talking about it being a maximum of a £15,000 spend. That's going to be a lot for landlords like myself, smaller landlords up and down the UK to do, especially if their property is older and the changes that they need to make are going to be a lot more. And we haven't even got into how it's going to be affecting the tenants. We'll discuss that later on in the video. So a lot more of the bigger, maybe commercial landlords might have deeper pockets to be able to do this because they might have more cash reserves built up. And again, I've got more videos coming up on smaller versus larger corporate landlords coming in the future. So stay tuned for that. But smaller landlords like myself may struggle. And literally, like I've already said in the video, the past project that I've done where we did convert mixed use to residential. And this was when they were previously discussing the EPC levels changing to a C, minimum C, for properties to be rented out. I had that in mind when we did the last property that we did. So I'm hoping that's created almost a little bit of a buffer for me to build on. So we actually put insulated plasterboard on the whole of the inside of the building because the property was actually sited it's in a conservation area. So obviously we can't put the insulation on the outside. It would have affected the outside look, and obviously that wouldn't have passed through planning. So therefore we had to take a bit of the area from the inside of the building because we had to put 100 mil, it was like 72 millimeter insulated plasterboard. So it was literally that thick on the inside of all of the external walls, which did cost a lot of money. And when they sort of scrapped all the plans sort of went away, I thought, oh my gosh, I've spent all this money. But now that they've revived these plans, I'm actually glad I did. So I'm hoping that this will add against and sort of build up for that, hopefully build towards that EPC rating of C. We don't even know what the ratings are going to be. Again, I will discuss this a bit more in the video. So we've got that to worry about as well. Yeah, it took a lot of time and effort to actually do those changes. And we also upgraded the windows as well, which again, it was in a conservation area. So we were very limited on the design of those windows and they were a specific design, but we had to upgrade them again so that there were one, escape windows, and two, so that it helped towards the energy efficiency of the building. So that is something to add in there as well. Now, granted, I was already doing the renovation, but this took a lot of time, effort, and a lot of cost for me to renovate. So smaller landlords, we're going to have to find this money to renovate and update almost all of our properties so that it meets that. So it's going to be something that we're literally going to be worried about that. But then that leads me on to my next point, and it's the time and the effort that it takes to do these renovations, because this is severely going to impact the tenants also. So, I mean, all of these changes, once they've been done, once all of the renovations and everything, the time and effort's been done, and the tenant moves into a fresh and it's a new tenancy, that's great for that tenant because obviously the bills are going to be cheaper, it's going to be more energy efficient, it's going to be insulated warm in the winter, and it's going to be the bills are going to be a lot cheaper. So it's great for the tenant moving into a property that's already had those changes done. But what about existing tenancies? We don't know what's going to happen with this. Displace and disrupt a lot of tenants when we have to do these massive renovations. That's why we do them in the first place, because obviously we get the properties, they're empty, we can do the renovations freely without worrying about a tenant being in situ. So what's going to happen for existing tenancies? What is the landlord then expected to do? Are we funding tenants to be in, I don't know, in hotels while these works are being carried out? I don't know. We've got to just listen for the consultations further on and just see how the government are planning to play this. Will smaller landlords actually carry out these renovations? They might look at it and think that's another reason for them to leave the rental market and then sell up that property, and then that's another unit that is out of the housing stock and less available for tenants to actually move in. So how is that then going to affect the rental market? Is that going to then, if more and more landlords sort of sell their properties and that gets used by an owner-occupier, and then that pool of properties for people to rent kind of shrinks, that then might make rental prices skyrocket. So that's got to be taken into consideration as well. So what can we do as smaller landlords? What exactly are our options? I think personally we need to make our voices heard. So wherever this is, any consultations or anything, just voice our opinions on that. straight directly to the government on what we actually think of these plans and these proposals. We need to actually plan ahead, and planning ahead is actually going to be really, really difficult, because I think all of the whole grading system and how they actually judge and what goes into these EPCs and the ratings is actually going to be shaken up and changed as well. So an EPC C that they're proposing might, all the things that go into making that property a C might not be everything that's going to be the new C moving forward. Guys, I think what we're going to have to do is just literally do what I've been doing, is literally try to plan ahead, at least by thinking, right, if I'm doing this renovation, if I'm buying this property, I need to plan it out a bit more better and put more aside for any energy efficiencies that I might need to make. All we can do is plan on current EPC levels and then hope that kind of gives us brownie points or a bit more leeway when the new EPC ratings are unveiled. So I still think it's worth planning and putting in extra costs for and making those energy efficiencies, even more so now than before. So when you are getting these properties and you are looking to do the renovation, put some money aside for, right, we need to look at, right, do I need to upgrade the insulation in the roof? Do I need to add insulated plasterboards to the inside, or can I do something on the outside? Generally putting money aside for upgrading the thermal efficiencies of the building, especially if the building what I'm looking at is an older building. Put that through and make sure you put it into your figures and it's all there, and you're basing your figures on literally making those changes at the very least. I'm still looking at obviously investing in mixed use properties and then upgrading the energy efficiency anyway, but as a basis anyway. But I'm also looking at purchasing more flats. You might remember, if you're here from day one, the first ever property, I have a playlist on the channel. The first property that I actually invested in was a 1-bed flat in a block of flats anyway, and that's got a current EPC rating of a C. Hopefully I am going to be able to build on that. Even if they do change all the ratings, I can build on that, or I'm all right as it is if the ratings are based on current energy efficiencies. And moving forward, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at properties where they do already have that C, or it's an easy quick win to get it up to a current C, and then once they have changed everything and they've let us know exactly how they're rating their EPCs moving forward, at least then I can plan to try and make sure that my property complies with it, because I'm already starting from a C at the minute. And that's another thing, guys, that's a bit ambiguous at the minute. If you're investing in things like flats where it's leasehold, you might not have the freehold, so therefore you're very limited on what you can do. You might not be able to make changes structurally to the building to make these energy efficiencies. For example, you won't be able to put external insulation on, or you might not be able to change the windows. You might not be able to do things like that. And we need more direction from the government on what we're going to do with properties that are like that. And also, if you've got properties in conservation areas where you're very limited on what you can do externally as well. Again, I've got properties that come under that tick box as well. So I will be watching out to see what the changes are going to be, because what changes can I make in those situations? So my final thoughts, are these changes good or bad? To be honest, it's complicated. I can see what they're trying to do. It could lead to more sustainable homes for tenants with cheaper energy bills, which I am all for. I'm all for that type of thinking. On the other hand, to do that, it might push out a lot more landlords and therefore reduce that the whole rental stock, and give tenants less choice of places to rent and hike up those. And more importantly, the rental prices might go through the roof. But what do you think, guys? Pop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see how I tackled improving the energy efficiency of the last project that I did, you can watch this playlist here. Thanks, bye.